Hi guys, I'm Eileen. Today I want to talk about when is the best time to buy luxury or designer items. For some people, the answer might be never, which is a perfectly fair opinion. My sister, for example, is not into luxury shopping, and she often wonders why I would spend so much money on a luxury handbag. It just doesn't really make sense to her. Anyway, if you're like me and you love beautiful things, but at the same time you want to be a responsible person and make sensible decisions, this video is for you. First of all, I think a person should only start buying luxury items when they've started making their own money and they are self-sufficient and no longer require any financial support. As parents, we naturally want to give our children the best of everything, but I don't think it's necessary to impose designer brands on them, especially when they are quite young and they don't really care about what they wear. Personally, I feel like that will create a sense of entitlement because they might feel like it's normal to receive expensive gifts. And things will be even harder when they start getting peer pressure when they are teenagers. I grew up in quite a humble background, but I always knew I liked beautiful things. So even at quite a young age, I knew I had to work hard if I wanted anything nice. And that in a way made me appreciate the value of hard work and money. Essentially, I think it's perfectly fine to enjoy luxury shopping as long as the person has worked hard for it. As a parent, I would much prefer to reserve my resources for things like education, trips, lessons, experiences, and so on because I feel like they will make a much more positive impact on Isaac's life than any designer shoes or expensive clothing. In the future, if he decides he likes Louis Vuitton or Hermes, I will fully support it as long as he's responsible for his life choices. Moving on, I think we should only buy luxury items if we can actually pay for them in full. Nowadays, it's so easy to buy anything using our credit cards. So if you're not careful, you might find yourself sinking deeper and deeper into the trap of debt. In fact, 2 months ago, I did a poll on my YouTube channel asking if my audience ever got themselves into debt because of shopping, and 36% of the people said yes. Now, I'm sure we all know it's never a good idea to get into debt because of shopping. But I also understand the temptation sometimes can be quite hard to resist, especially when you see that beautiful Chanel handbag that's supposed to be the last one in the country. But just remember that no luxury handbag or diamond necklace is ever worth you getting yourself into debt for. If you still carry any credit card bill, I will highly suggest to pay it off as soon as possible before allowing yourself to buy anything else. Trust me, not having to pay the 20% interest rate will give you back so much freedom. I also think we should only buy luxury items after we've paid for ourselves and our well-being. I'm a firm believer that we should always look after ourselves first before using the money to pay for material things. So if you are deciding between having braces or buying an Hermes handbag, I would say go for your perfect smile instead. And please don't live on ramen noodle just because you're trying to save up for a Chanel handbag. I'm not sure about you, but I think a healthy body, clear skin, and good teeth are always more worth my money than any luxury handbags. Personally, I also see learning as a way to nourish myself, and it's definitely something worth paying for. I've been really enjoying Skillshare and I'm so happy they are sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of inspiring classes where you can learn about music, graphic design, arts, and so much more. I've recently taken a class called Creativity Unleashed by Nathaniel Drew, and I find it so helpful and inspiring. In 2021, I definitely want to work on creating better videos for my YouTube channel, and this class gave me an insight about how to better present myself and be more engaged with my audience. For less than $10 a month, you will get unlimited access to thousands of ad-free classes, and the first 1,000 people to click on the link in the description will get a free trial of their premium membership, so you can really explore your creativity in the new year. Next, it's also really important to have your emergency fund set up first before using the cash for any luxury shopping. Emergency fund is basically your rainy day money, which you can only dip into for real emergencies, such as job loss, unexpected illnesses, home repairs, and so on. Now, a lot of financial experts will suggest to have a reserve of 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses, but that really depends on your personal situation. I think having an emergency fund is so important because it will keep you going for a while, even if your income stops coming in today. I know I personally sleep a lot better in the night knowing that has been taken care of. If you've not had this set up yet, I would suggest to keep it a priority. Once you've achieved your goal though, the next challenge is to resist the temptation to use the money for shopping. At first, it might seem a bit tough to do, but once you've got used to the idea of not allowing yourself to touch that money, it will just become a second nature. Moving on, I will also highly recommend everyone to prioritize investing over shopping. This is something I wish I started doing earlier. I remember when I first got paid, the first thing I wanted to do was to go shopping. Looking back, I really wish I knew how compound interest work. Essentially, the earlier you invest, the more time your money has to grow. So let's say you've invested £1,000 today, and if the market return is 10% a year, by next year, your £1,000 would have grown to £1,100, and in the year after, it would turn into £1,200, and in 7 years, your money would actually double. I think when you see how your money can work for you, shopping will naturally become less appealing. At least that's the case for me. And I also think this is a very good way to gauge how much you love something before paying for it. So for example, a luxury handbag might cost £1,000 today, but considering the opportunity cost, buying the bag means you might actually lose out on £2,000 in 7 years. With this in mind, you might decide to buy the bag anyway, which is fine as long as you've made an informed decision. My personal opinion is your contribution for investing should always be quite a bit higher than your allocation for luxury shopping. Moving on, I will also suggest to see luxury shopping as a way to celebrate a very important milestone. So for example, you might allow yourself to buy a Louis Vuitton handbag when you've managed to save up a down payment for a house or when you've invested a certain amount of money. This way, instead of slowing down your progress, shopping can now serve as a source of motivation for you to achieve bigger goals. Besides, when you know you've set your priorities right, shopping will be so much more fun and you will also not feel guilty about it. Next, please also make sure to do a lot of research before buying any luxury items. In the past, I used to make a lot of impulse purchases, and 90% of the times, I would regret my decisions. This is why I think it's really important to take good time to see if an item will be a good fit in your wardrobe and your lifestyles. That's why I love having a luxury wish list because I feel like I can focus my time and energy on researching these items rather than eyeing on everything under the sun. Sometimes, after a bit of research, I will decide the item is not really for me and I will update my wish list accordingly. Nowadays, it's really easy to get information about anything anyway. YouTube, for example, is a really good place to get information, so make sure to do your due diligence. Essentially, don't make any hasty decisions because selling your luxury items will never be as easy as buying them in the store or online. In fact, every time I buy something now, I always ask myself if I would be happy to lose out on half the money if it turns out I don't actually love the item that much in 6 months' time. There you have it. If you're into luxury shopping, I would highly recommend you to take all these factors into consideration. It might sound a bit overwhelming, but essentially it just means setting your priorities right and seeing luxury as just luxury. Personally, I will also suggest to pay off your credit card bills as soon as possible. And when that is done and dusted, you can then focus your energy on building a better financial ground for yourself, such as investing for your future. Along the way, by all means, reward yourself when the time is right. I feel like within the luxury community, sometimes you might get the vibe that spending £1,000 on a luxury handbag is not a big deal, but it really is. So make sure to consume social media with a pinch of salt and take full control of your shopping habits. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I will see you in my next one. Have a nice day.